Hi guys, Vipin here. Now in this video we'll be talking about the deficits in the economy. Now I don't want to limit it just to India. I'll try and make sure that I put in other economies as well when it comes to explaining the deficits in an economy. Now what does deficit actually mean? Now deficit means that there is a shortage. Now the shortage here of course refers to the money which an economy is actually making. Now, why do deficits actually occur? One of the reasons could be foreign exchange rates. For example, India has borrowed $100 million, a small amount of money, from another country in the year 2005. Now, if you go back in time about 10 years, you would see that $1 versus rupee is equal to around 35, maybe 40 rupees. But right now, when it comes to repaying that $100 million, the foreign exchange rates have changed drastically. Because these drastic changes happen, it might be more expensive to repay the loan today, and that could result in a shortage of money in the economy. Another reason is bad investments. That's pretty much what happened in Greece. Now, Greece has borrowed money from the European Union, mostly Germany, to the extent of $100+ billion. Now, they bought this money, or rather, they borrowed this money from Germany and they invested in local industries. Now, the idea was we put this money in the local economy, and that will result in returns. It's a lot like, let's say, you taking up a loan and building a house and renting out that house for people to stay and making money out of rent. That's the investment plan. But what would happen if you built that house after taking a loan and no one was ready to stay there? That's an example of a bad investment, and that's pretty much what happened in Greece. They are due for hundreds of billions of dollars, not hundreds of billions of dollars, 150 something billions of dollars they owe to the European Union. Another one is foreign trade. Now, this is another reason why you come across a deficit in India, our excessive dependence on imports. Now, because we are spending a lot of money on imports and we are not making enough money on exports, that can in fact cause a deficit in the economy. Now, you might say that with the dollar being at well over 60 rupees, that should be a benefit for exporters. But the thing is, exports in India have always been on the lower side compared to the imports. So even though exporters might be making more money, we are spending a lot more from the point of view of the importers. So what are the different types of deficits that you come across? First one would be balance of payments deficit. That is, we are spending more money on imports than the money that we are making through exports. Now, the second one there is a trade deficit. That is, we have more imports than we have exports. Now, what this means is both are similar, but they're not exactly identical. The quantity of goods we are exporting might seem a lot, but the money that we are making through this is not so high. So that's in fact the similarity and the difference between the first point and the second. The third one is deficit spending. Now, deficit spending means the economy, India as such, is able to make a lot of revenue through taxation, by the sale of railway tickets, by the sale of 3G license, 2G license, 4G license, and so on. Now, we are making money through different sources, but there is a possibility that we could be spending more than what we are actually making. Now, India hasn't really come to this point, but America certainly has. If you look at these basic assumptions when it comes to borrowing money, there is a rule of thumb that people follow, which is the amount of money you can borrow should not exceed your GDP. GDP is the amount of money a country makes. In other words, it's the income of a country. So the rule of thumb is you're not supposed to borrow more than what you actually make. Countries like Greece have exceeded the amount of borrowing by about 50%. Meaning, let's say the country is making around 100 rupees in a year, but the amount of money they have borrowed is 150 rupees. That's what happens when it comes to deficit spending. So, what do countries do to fix the problem? Countries like Greece are on the bad side. When I say on the bad side, I mean they have taken away a lot of subsidies which they've been given to the agricultural sector, the dairy farming sector, and so on. And this is something which is sad to say. They've even compromised on the expenditure for defense as well. Now, they're doing this because they owe a huge amount of money to the European Union, and the only way they can pay off this debt is by compromising on a lot of expenditures in the economy. Then, India, on the other hand, makes changes in the taxation systems. Like, for example, if you come across every year, they add new services into the service tax sector. That is, previously we did not have taxation for, let's say, for example, if you were to get your hair cut in a fancy salon, you wouldn't really have to pay a service tax on that. But thanks to amendments in the service tax bracket, you have to pay taxes on all these things. There was a point of time wherein on my website, the hosting service that I would take up, there was no service tax on this. And 1 year, Government of India amended this, and I had to start paying service tax on hosting my website on that server. So that's another thing which Government of India does. They modify the taxation system so that they can earn more and reduce the deficit if there is any. Other one, when it comes to countries like America, they do stupid things. Now, for example, the most common thing which America does would be cutting back on education. For a long period of time, America has been cutting back on the money that they allot for education in their country. I say this because education there is ridiculously expensive, and for people there, doing a course of, say, graduation is considered a big deal because the amount of money a person has to spend there per annum is equal to average American's annual income. So that's a lot of money that they're spending, and that's because they've compromised a lot when it comes to the education sector. So I hope you found this video interesting. Please visit my website and do subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you guys. Have a nice day. Bye.